Okay, we're good.
So, if you guys haven't met him yet, we have a special guest here, Aaron Gray. He's the founder of Legacy Movement, and this guy is like a mouse, pretty much.
I love the way you say that, by the way.
What?
Mouse.
It's the only way I say it. So, you know, Harvard Business School, he's got all the connections. I mean, he's pretty much introduced me to like almost half the people I know. So great guy to network with.
You're on the board for Startup Atlanta?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on the exec committee for Startup.
So I'll let him sort of end off the introduction, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jerome. Nice to meet all of you guys. My name is Aaron Gray. I'm the founder of the Legacy Movement. Essentially, we're at the intersection of entrepreneurship, education, and ecosystem development. So plainly said, we teach people how to build companies, and then we just help them build them by doing a series of publishing a series of online content around entrepreneurship and also information on how to buy and sell companies, how to start social enterprises. And at the same time, we build an ecosystem of relevant individuals and organizations that can help them get their deals done. So technologists, emerging entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, lawyers, CPAs, you know, the whole shebang, experienced corporate professionals that want to get into startups, that type of thing. And we do this not only in working with different strategic partners. So, you know, our vision is to actually change the conversation about success in entrepreneurship in underserved communities. So we built a platform that anyone can plug into, but we also take a dedicated focus to actually working with different nonprofit partners and other organizations who serve women, military vets, and communities of color. And the thought process is if you build an ecosystem where everyone just offers up value to each other and helps each other, is you actually give people from any type of background the ability to start any type of business that they want and essentially take control of their economic freedom. So we're working pretty closely with a number of different colleges around the country, also with different cities, you know, kind of at the mayoral level. And hopefully the thought is you build a bunch of legacy movement ecosystems and all over the country, then you've essentially got a national ecosystem of people that they can just plug into a technology platform and a network of good folks so they can start a business and, you know, lead good lives. My background is primarily in finance and technology, so I spent the first couple of years of my career in New York doing investment banking for Goldman Sachs, focused on technology, media, and telecom. I then moved to a VC-backed startup called Fandango, which was backed by Accretive and Technology Crossover Ventures at the time. I did business development and business intelligence. They're a VC-backed startup. If you haven't heard of Fandango, they're a company that sells movie tickets online. And did that for a couple of years. We were acquired by Comcast in 2007. Right before I went to HBS, I actually did venture capital at Graycroft Partners. So they focused on digital media, mobile, and consumer internet startups. So did that for a summer before business school. And as you guys probably remember, in 2007, the whole world blew up. So business school was kind of interesting. I was just watching firms get collapsed all around us on campus.
New case studies.
Yeah, exactly. Very new case studies. So, you know, kind of, you know, didn't necessarily end up on the venture capital path full-time what I was aiming for, but ended up finding some great roles working for the mayor of Kevin Johnson in the city of Sacramento, focused on his education policy right after school, did some operations work in another educational company in Southern California, and eventually found my way to Atlanta doing corporate strategy and M&A for Home Depot. So spent about a year and a half there working with some really smart folks. Went over to global payments and M&A and worked with ex-Goldman guys who I had a really great time with, kind of doing deals on a domestic and an international basis. And then had the urge to just kind of get out there and, you know, do something, you know, really big and something I was really passionate about. You know, I had a great career, but just had this idea for kind of taking all the stuff that I've learned over the last 10 years about doing deals and building companies and just teaching everybody else who wants to do it, and then giving people basically something to plug into if, you know, kind of the economy is not working out for them in their favor. And so that's where I am today. You know, we recently just came out of beta. We're having a great launch party next Friday at Atlanta Club. All you guys are invited. We're doing a lot of good things here in Atlanta. So for more information, you can definitely check out legacymovement.net. But I don't want to bore you guys with my story. So I'm here to really just, you know, observe and answer any questions you guys have about the current business that you're working on. I mean, I got lucky to meet Jerome, you know, a couple months ago, and I was just like, wow, that's a great organization. You guys are just teaching each other like what you need to know, and not waiting on, you know, the university to just put it in practice. So I love the entrepreneur spirit about what Startup Semester represents, and, you know, the Legacy Movement. We already have a partnership here with Alpha Kappa Psi of Georgia Tech. We've also got a partnership with ASU at Harvard Business School, and we're working on several others around the country. And so we love partnering with relevant student organizations on campuses to accelerate their development of their businesses and also their knowledge of entrepreneurship. And we're trying to, the way we see our role is basically playing an active role in not only getting college students who are interested in entrepreneurship connected with each other, but also getting them connected to the other colleges in their hometowns, and then integrating them in the broader startup community, right? So that way they're meeting more people who want to also start businesses, potential co-founders, potential investors. They're learning from experienced serial entrepreneurs that they can potentially bring on as advisors. So we think there's a lot of opportunity to bridge a lot of relationship gaps, not only in the city of Atlanta, but also in a lot of other cities, because there's a very similar dynamic everywhere you go. So, happy to answer any questions you guys have about my background, but also more importantly about the businesses that you guys are working on.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, so actually, the last thing you mentioned, what he's trying to do with Atlanta. He's on the exec board for Startup Atlanta, and they're really working on trying to integrate all the student entrepreneurs together, trying to get them involved, and really going out to events that are being hosted all throughout Atlanta that we just don't know about. Did you guys all sign up for Startup Gossip? Right? No?
Do it.
Huh?
I haven't been getting your emails.
No.
It's
You
run by
haven't been getting
Sanjay,
emails, Barry?
but
Yeah, so it was way back when we were like, guys, just sign up for Startup Gossip, because it's really the newsletter that essentially it's all the startup events that's going on in Atlanta. We've got like startup drinks, I guess the
hackathon events.
Yeah, hackathon events.
Tech
Ruby
talks by
training events by High Groove.
Yeah.
Tons of the stuff that's happening all around Atlanta. And we were just talking earlier about how a lot of these events are off campus, obviously. So transportation is an issue that's going to be brought up. And in case you guys don't know, Startup Atlanta is like a huge umbrella organization. It's led by the mayor of
so
Atlanta.
so this week they had this huge conference called Venture Atlanta. It was actually day before yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was it was Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, the last 2 days it was huge. Pretty much everyone who was in the
Everyone you need to know
ecosystem was there, and actually the winners of at least the video competition was a Georgia Tech team called
E-commerce
Toll.
hub.
Yeah.
It was Toll.
It was Toll, right?
E-commerce. There was the supply chain.
Oh, was it also e-commerce hub?
Yeah.
Okay,
they
so
were up there too. Yeah.
So anyways, so this system, this ecosystem exists, and as Jerome and I are trying to dig our roots into that, we're also trying to expose you guys to it, being as transparent as possible, so that you guys can help connect to the right kinds of people. I want to introduce Peter, by the way. Peter's another mentor. I met Peter 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, and Peter is from New York. I'll let you introduce yourself, Peter.
Yeah, so I went to UNC and then moved to Atlanta after college, did consulting work for a couple years, and then moved out to New York City, joined a startup there, where we were basically a daily email publication, so you can kind of think of like a magazine, but deliver just one article at a time to your inbox. So we would monetize our relationship with our subscribers on behalf of advertisers. So I manage the business development sales side, reaching out to advertising agencies and clients directly to sell them advertising space and custom partnerships and programs. So just moved back and just took a job working at AirWatch, but very involved in the startup scene here, and I've been networking with a ton of people and in the process of building my own idea right now. So.
Yep. And actually, so Peter, too humble to say it, but so Tasting Tables, right? The company went from 0 in revenue to what was it, 10 million?
Mm-hmm.
Then
4 years.
A 4-year time span. So he was part of that. And so anyways, he's a hypothesis. You can go talk to him. It's really chill. And that's Aaron Zolman. Aaron Gray. We have another mentor named Zolman. But yeah, so let's get started. So I guess we kind of have a small crowd today.
Well, actually, so I wanted to go through what we did for the past 2 weeks, essentially. So obviously Hack GT and Fall Break, so we had 2 open Fridays that we didn't do anything. But on our side, we've been really cracking down on what we're going to do next semester, essentially, because we're nearing the end of the year. And we got to figure out how we're going to carry this on. And really the next step was was how to split up, how to really teach and show entrepreneurship at Georgia Tech. And it's gonna have to be a bottom-up movement. You know, professors will never be able to teach entrepreneurship. So it's three things that we kind of saw that was needed to really get to a point where you're in a startup and you're really like it's almost at the level of an internship or a part-time, right? It's building, it's knowing the build process, building a product, building something, and then knowing the business concepts. So all this stuff that we've been learning with the Udacity course and Lean Startup and Business Model Generation, and then there's execution, and that's all you, right? So we've been really working hard on this building part because coming into startup semester, we assumed, and that's our hypothesis, right? Our assumption was that
So we've been learning a lot from you guys because startup semester is our startup.
right.
So we've been learning a lot from you guys too. Yeah. Go ahead.
Right. So essentially, we assumed that all of you guys would be technical. And it turns out, maybe half of you guys are technical. That kind of knows the build process. So we saw that there's an opportunity there for learning how to build things. So an example of this is how is the school teaching us how to build anything right now? There's like mechanical engineering and all that where you can build stuff, but all the other majors, like I want to put that out there, psychology. I guess you can build experiments, sure, but are they really doing it, or are they just teaching you the theory and turning you into professors, right? So and that's kind of the same across all the majors. Even as a CS major, you're learning how to become a CS professor because you're not learning the open source languages. There's Python, but it's a little slow in Georgia Tech's part. So what we proposed is something sort of like a build wiki, right? So there's this growing movement of open source curriculums, and I'll tell you this short little story of this guy who I don't know where he lives. I don't know how you know the story, but he needed to build a tractor because I think he just broke his tractor and he had no money to buy another. So he built his tractor out of junkyard parts that he found just nearby his house. Built it up together and it works. Put the blueprints together and posted it on an open source wiki online. Suddenly everyone started contributing. They're like, whoa, no, there's a better part of this. I found this in the junkyard. You could probably use this better. And then suddenly, they put it together and the blueprints got better and better and better, and suddenly people started posting other tools that you could build in a farm. Not out of stuff you buy from Home Depot, stuff, that you get at a junkyard. So, and I believe it was TEDx Talk or TED Talk, where the idea of open source curriculums, where people are putting things together, where they show you how to build something, and there's an organized system around it in sort of like GitHub, where people are contributing and they're also learning at the same time. So that's going to be the new learning the new education, for Georgia Tech or for universities in general. And I feel like that's going to be huge. So what we're trying to do is essentially build this wiki that has just this entire database of how to build blank. So it's like how to build a web app, how to build this, how to build that, how to build this, and it could range from anything from a psychology experiment to a desk to a laptop to a search engine. That's in Udacity. I don't know if you guys went through the archives. Stuff like that. You just list it all out. And the reason why they help is because when you look it up on Google how to build a web app, they say, oh, learn Ruby, and you're like, oh, where do I start? I learn all of it.
Let's have actually. I think it'd be really cool to have Pete talk about this because Pete's coming from a non-technical background, and just what are your experiences as far as getting a technical co-founder?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think the web is your best friend. There's a ton of resources out there. There's a ton of people, especially in the startup community, that have probably had similar ideas or have come across similar trials and tribulations. So a lot of people go out there because it is such a small, tight-knit community where there are a ton of resources. So
right.
Again, it's just a matter of finding them, collecting them, putting them together. And I think this wiki is a great way to do that. So that again, it just minimizes the search that you guys have to do on your own.
Here's the basic premise that Jerome and I are working off of. Okay, if you're starting in entrepreneurship, you probably need to have some kind of basis on what your idea is. Because the truth is, you can't just say I have an idea and then have nothing to show for it other than a Photoshop file or something you draw in paint being like, this is how it's going to work. You have to have some kind of working model or something, so you can at least, when you approach the right kinds of people, as you will when you meet the kinds of people that Aaron can expose you to, you can be like, hey, I get it, okay? I get what it means. I can contribute. I'm not just twirling my thumbs around for the next, couple of days. And so you can begin on that process. And what Jerome and I have been thinking about is, what if we, what does start semester next semester look like? And what we've been re-envisioning it as is, what if we did short 4-week courses where it's like first 2 weeks, the inspiration course. You just get in here and because some of you guys wanted ideas. Some of you guys wanted to be inspired outside of the bubble that you live in. And so the 2-week inspiration course, you come in, we talk about the problems. We expose you to people who know what things need to be solved.
I have a camera right behind there. A little bit. You're good. Thank you, sir.
That's Sean. This is Aaron, and this is Pete.
Nice to meet you, Sean.
I'm Sean.
Two mentors. But basically, start of semester, next semester is going to look like, we're re-envisioning how it's going to look. It's going to be shorter courses, shorter time frames, 2 weeks, inspire, right? Get you guys to think of problems, get you guys exposed to the kinds of problems that you guys want. Because we know for a fact that, so Eric and Tommy and Drina, you guys came up with your ideas here, right? What if it was a course where a lot of people are searching for ideas, people who are passionate are just looking for something to hold on to. So 2 weeks inspiration, 4 weeks. Hold on. I'm looking for feedback, but just hold on 1 second, right? And then 3 weeks, discovery of your customer. You're about the 3-week value proposition. Go talk to 50 people in 3 weeks, and come up with your idea and go from there. And so it's like smaller bits of courses. You're learning alongside, along with this build wiki, and you're developing the skills. And then towards the end, you just start integrating. You start plugging into this bigger ecosystem. You get out of Georgia Tech, and it's not about start of semester anymore. You've had the launchpad experience, and you're plugging into the bigger system.
The idea behind that is that there are these independent modules, right? That you don't have to go to all of them. So, for example, if you already know everything about the value proposition possible, don't know how, but you know it. You know everything about it, and you really don't need to go to those 2 weeks and waste your time learning about the value proposition again, being taught. So you could go to all the other modules, and let's say you started out as a technical co-founder. You don't need to know how to build something anymore. You just need to know how the business works. So you could just go to those modules instead. So the idea is that you form your own curriculum slowly, and then you kind of go to what you need to know, and then at the end of it, you can put all the pieces together and go nuts. So
that's just a thought.
I wanted to ask you guys about something though, which is
Yeah.
not totally related to this,
Sure.
but actually something you said sort of sparked it. So I was looking into trying to recruit people for DOC, or the Department of Review.
Yeah,
You guys
Department of
as
Professional
part of
Practice.
professional practice, if you guys didn't go to tech, they like run internships or something. Do you guys have any sort of relationship with them, or something like that?
We ourselves?
Or the startup semester, or?
no, what are you trying to do with that?
Well, I thought it would be interesting because they basically have files of everyone who's looking for internships or co-ops. So, that would seem like a good group of people to look at if we're trying to recruit.
Yeah.
If you're trying to find co-founders?
It could
I'm not
potentially
actually
be.
sure if we're looking for co-founders anymore, but
They've generally been a little more apprehensive with startups.
Dude,
For some
you're
reason.
honestly better off finding the Atlanta web dev club, going there and pitching to them.
Yeah. It might be a lot faster.
You'll find exactly the right kinds of people that way, probably, more likely. But
Yeah. and
no,
so-
I mean I haven't had so much trouble finding people. It's just I
Yeah.
thought it might be an interesting thing that you did.
okay, for future
Yeah.
improvement.
Or I mean, it depends how fast you. I guess apparently it's future, but depends how fast you can.
True. What are you gonna say?
I was going to say that it's interesting you guys are talking about this problem. So on our website, we actually built that functionality in for our paid users. It's basically a forum section where one of the sections is idea board. So it's for those people who can't come up with an idea, so they're just looking for a team to join. and it's also a place for people to get feedback on their ideas. So if you have an idea about a business and a problem that you want to work on, you say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, just interested to know what the community thinks about the idea. So it's a way to get feedback, but also to find potential co-founders for you to work on as well. And I think another thing to your point about finding, the right relevant folks that would be interested in Startup Semester and could benefit from it is, again, the integration, like you said, on the Startup Gossip newsletter, getting integrated in the community. You'll find those people extremely quickly, and I think they'll also be really excited about meeting you guys too, because one issue that I hear about in the community, for those who aren't connected to Georgia Tech directly through like Flashpoint or ATDC or some other organization, they have trouble meeting tech kids. So they say, well, I know there's a lot of technical talent at Georgia Tech, but since I live over here in East Atlanta, what do I do? Right, so I think there is definitely interest on both sides. So just FYI, as you guys are building relationships in the community.
Right. So another thing that I did over fall break, I went to Austin and talked to some guys over at 3-Day Startup. So you guys, how many of you guys went to AgGT?
I went, I couldn't stay.
Okay. No one else? Well, that's cool. So 3-Day Startup is essentially another, is a spring version of Startup Weekend plus HackGT. So HackGT is kind of catered towards students mostly because, Matt Smith's a student and we're all students, or pretty much marketing students. So 3-Day Startup is purely for students. It's going to be free, and it's a 3-day Startup Weekend kind of deal. And it's going to be open to basically everyone on Georgia Tech campus. And we're going to see about possibly opening up to like Emory and whatnot. But the idea is essentially February, 3 days of no sleep, lots of coffee, Red Bull.
Meet, ideate, hack, pitch, done.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
Yes. And
game-
Triplingo has come out of a program like that. So
Actually, yeah.
So
What is Triplingo?
Triplingo is a new startup that's in Hippopotamus.
No, I saw their office, but what is it?
It's an app. It's a travel app.
So essentially they, yes.
Languages, right?
Language
It's
is
for
right.
languages.
Yeah.
So essentially what they do is they only teach you what's most important to learn in a language. So you learn like the colloquialism and the slang and just bits of words, bits of phrases that you need to know. So instead of having to learn an entire language, you just learn the stuff you need to know.
And it's all based on what kind of things you'll be doing. So if you're out there and
Yeah.
you're in the Himalayas and you're hiking, you can add that as one of your activities you'll be doing. And it's not going to be talking about going to the library or looking at artwork. It's going to be specific to what you're looking to do on your trip.
That's right. Okay. So anyways, oh yeah, is that it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. We're slowly trying to put together all that stuff.
Yeah. So that'll be like the demo day of startup semester. It'll be next semester. We'll give you some time to work on whatever it is that you have, so you kind of have like a head start, so to speak, and you can go from there. That'll be your launch pad, right? Because is there money associated with 3DS or?
Money, like to pay or
Yeah,
to
no,
get?
to win.
Depends on the sponsors.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. So, okay, so that's us. That's what we've been doing. We've been talking to a lot of people. We've been trying to keep up with our own network and figure out what works and what doesn't work. This fall break was like a good reflection period for us. So I think it's good to now kind of transition and figure out what it is that you guys have been doing the past 2 weeks. What have you learned from your mentors? What kind of conversations have you had? And what are you doing? So, who wants to go first?
Quick question.
Yeah.
In the email you sent us, you were saying BuzzGuard reader or Hypod?
Done. So, so tomorrow, Saturday, 10 o'clock, I'll be there.
Okay.
So you can show up. I have funds. We
Okay.
have access. So,
Where's, it's just like outside?
Hippopotamus,
No, the BuzzGuard reader.
just show up at the door, dude. The door's gonna be propped up.
Okay.
So we'll just get together and we'll work.
Wait,
so-
is security gonna let them in?
Security can only let me and you in, so we have to get in there first.
Yeah.
Oh
but-
yeah. So when you get in, you have to. So then the Biltmore Hotel, right? So how you usually enter is like right. You just cross the street and you enter the front doors. So I think on the weekends those doors are closed. So what you have to do is you have to go around the building through the back doors, which are always open.
Which is actually
And
the
then-
front door.
Yeah.
So
You
the
know
whole
the back door.
Yeah.
The back door. Yeah, you go through there and then you go down one floor and then hippopotamus doors will be open at 10. So. Okay, so yeah, yeah. So I want to hear what you guys have been doing. I think it's important to catch up. Right. Who wants to go first?
You want to just do a round robin?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I can start. All right. So I met with my two mentors. Well, actually met with one and talked on the phone with the other one. And after like last week,
Who are your
I was,
mentors again?
Greg and Sandra.
That's cool.
Oh, Sunday.
All right. So okay, basically first I went to the airport. I asked people around. Okay, first what I was doing was
You should tell everyone your idea, your
Okay.
preliminary idea. for
which
the
I
fair.
completely scrapped. But
Okay.
my previous idea was a travel network for solo travelers traveling to different cities and a way to meet people with similar interests at those destinations. So I went.
Ideal
I like
for
that
consultants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
However, I went to the airport, I asked a bunch of people around, but as consultants they're really occupied, they don't have time, or either they already know a lot of people at that place. So, I mean, I probably asked like 50 people or more, and I mean, very few said like it's a great idea.
Are they all consultants?
No, there were students, like business people, they're like
Okay.
different crowd.
You mind if I offer up one quick suggestion?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys need to like.
Only because, I went to school with a lot of consultants, so I actually know a lot of them, either current or former. Have you ever thought about running a poll through, like, a bunch of McKinsey, Bain, BCG alumni directly through them and seeing what they say?
No, but that's a reason. Just
Awesome.
that's
You can get that list.
So can you get the list?
You can go through the alumni network.
Yeah, alumni networks, and then there's also creative, savvy ways to just figure it out. Yeah, but we can talk offline about it.
All right.
Well, here's a legitimate way of doing it. Is actually if you just go to SAA, or to the Student Alumni Association, or just the Alumni Association, and ask them, hey, I'm looking for some alums to network with who go to McKinsey. Make it an honest, like,
This is for a reschool
somewhat
project.
honest. Yeah, be like,
You might not want to say McKinsey though, like maybe say consulting is less ambitious.
Yeah,
Well-
the other way to think about it also, just because I know this, because I actually had to do this for some research, is so consultant classes. So everybody comes in as a class. Investment bank consultant, they typically come in big groups, right? From all the students from all over the country, and they oftentimes create their own lists. So they've already got a list. You make friends with one consultant. You say, hey, you mind sending this out to the list of consultants? There you go. Done.
perfect.
That's good.
So.
All right. So okay. So since the feedback wasn't very good, I was in the middle of talking with in the reunion with Greg, which is one of my mentors, and he was like, I was telling him all this, and then suddenly I came with the idea of instead of focusing on a network, I thought how difficult it is for a family or a group of students to plan their trip, because nobody has time to sit around the table and discuss a trip, or if you're in different city parts or whatever. So my new idea is to create a travel planner sort of thing where you can get to, you do polls for the destinations you want, polls for the hotels, and then you can assign tasks to people. So you reserve the hotel or you reserve the airplane flight, and then based on that you could also do day trips and attractions and go from there.
And so this is primarily for families where either one or both spouses are oftentimes on the road, thus making this travel planning activity difficult.
Yeah, or a big family which have, they have a bunch of grandparents who have kids and
Yeah.
granddaughters everywhere. I know my family would definitely use it. And or if you plan spring break, a group of college students, sometimes it gets really complicated on deciding everything.
Yeah.
Or you get a bunch of emails and you just lose track of all the emails with what you're gonna do.
So have you talked to anyone about that?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple people, and I don't know, around 15 or so, and they say it's a pretty good idea.
What do they say is most important about that idea? What features?
That it organizes it organizes how not organizes, but it helps assign tasks for the trip,
Okay.
As well, it saves time.
So it's pre-trip planning, not during trip.
No,
planning.
yeah, it's pre-trip
Okay.
planning.
Okay.
And then I was thinking like having a whole like summer itinerary thing, which like or something, so everybody knows like each day each person arrives or whatever.
Okay.
The hotel.
Okay.
Cool.
Anything else? Any other?
Right now, like I'm starting to design like the whole like how all its functions, and I'm thinking what to add and what to include. So I'll probably start this week or the next one to design like a whole layout.
Okay. Cool. So next week, right?
Well, this week.
This
once
week?
yeah.
Okay. Tomorrow. All right.
So we're hip string, and we're like independent musicians, like community online. So we want to foster like feedback, and then also, for listeners or for the musicians, we're trying to get each song of theirs, to get like a fair chance at number of plays. So we're a little over the place, and Eric's concern earlier was like, what like specifically, what's the one thing we're trying to do? But we started with the problem that we saw with traditional music cataloging services like SoundCloud or YouTube or anything. It's just sorted by most recent tracks or most popular tracks.
Yeah.
So obviously, most popular tracks, you have a set of a list of tracks, and if someone's going on there to listen to those, they're just going to keep on being the most popular, and it's not going to see a lot of change, and it's very circular. And then the most recent, obviously, is just a short amount of time, so anyone can get on there, but they'll just be washed away. And what happens to a lot of music is that after those initial plays, it's just lost in the confines. So
like originally we were just thinking like we just wanted to help artists get their songs heard more. But we've been talking to people online. Another big thing, possibly bigger than that they care about is getting feedback on their work and having a community.
Okay. So instead of getting views, they care about getting feedback. That's what new artists care about. Okay.
that was what we got from like Poland.
What kind of feedback do they want?
Like how they can improve.
Okay.
Yeah, construction criticism.
So like stars wouldn't work, right? Like 4 star,
So-
5 star.
So so I'm trying to think of revenue model now, because I get the concept. Thinking of revenue models, like who's gonna pay? Is it so it's the artist who wants that early feedback from listeners, so they don't put a bunch of time and effort, studio time, paying for like a certain sound or a certain type of music they're making, they know what will buy. Is that kind of you're thinking, is that the artist pays so they can make a better album, make better songs in general?
In terms of like revenue models, like the first thing that we came up with, like, and we like mapped like all it about, any possibility like in the future, and there were a couple different ways we could, monetize our idea. One of them, obviously, through advertisement, but then also sort of a freemium model for the artists, and this is what SoundCloud does. So they do have free accounts, and you can upload songs, but then obviously there's the pro accounts. So you have more data and more features. So we'll probably have a freemium model where we'll offer these pro accounts later on, and then if we can test what we're trying to do right now. We have a landing page, which is pretty good, but we're trying to get that MVP out, and to do that, we need to make our homepage and just like a user sign-up profile page.
Yeah.
We're going to we talked to our mentors.
So what's your archetype look like? What kind of customer, first of all, before you talk about monetizing,
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious to find out who your customer is and what they look like.
yeah.
So who did you talk to with regards to getting your feedback, and what do you envision now your customer to look like?
Well, we haven't had a chance to talk to anyone in person yet. We've been talking to people on forums, so we don't know like exactly who they are, but
What do you think they
I think that they'd probably be under 30. They're
Hipsters, basically.
new artists who are don't have a lot of money, so they really love music and want to pursue this. They've been having trouble. They can't afford big
Alright.
studio time.
I'm just gonna cut you short. You guys will find out more once you guys go talk to these people. But I think that'll really help. You guys gotta go talk to people. You guys are building something online, right?
Yeah.
Is it app centric?
No.
It's not, right? But Nina, yours is app centric, isn't that correct?
It's the web, and then it'll eventually have an app.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I just feel that when it's online, and especially if you're trying to do something where you're gonna have a lot of people inputting it. So in both your cases, it's like you're gonna have many people potentially using it, right?
Yeah.
Like we're talking thousands, right? I think it's just important to get as much feedback as possible, because you'll really get a lot of. But would you guys? Would you like?
Yeah.
I like what you guys are doing with the forums, though. That's a unique idea.
Yeah. Like
So-
talk to your buddies, but talk to like hundreds. I'd say,
Yeah.
You know?
Over fall break,
Yeah.
I went to New York,
Okay.
but I read The Lean Startup too,
Okay.
and that was really good. And obviously, the Jesse and Steve Blank's all about getting out of the building, talking to people, but then Eric Reese is a little different in what he says. But so the getting out of the building and talking to people, that's sort of like
It's more about
an
observing
infinite
people,
loop
right?
where you just keep on talking to people and keep on talking to people. But then there's also, the problem that customers don't actually know what they want.
Yeah.
So Reese, what I read is he's definitely much more into just getting the MVP, and then you get the feedback. So that's all about getting the MVP, to test your leap of faith assumptions and then test your value propositions. So I don't want to go out and spend a ton of time asking people about the idea, because the idea will likely change, not based on what they say, but based on how they react.
Do you mind if I just offer a little bit of perspective? So I totally hear what you're saying. Something we did for the legacy movement, it was literally a tandem process. So talking to a bunch of folks in our network, a bunch of strangers, and also building. Because what's interesting when you actually go out here and start getting feedback, it's important to understand what people will pay for. So this is a great piece of advice that an entrepreneur recently gave me in Atlanta. He's like, you're thinking about building your product or service. 4 things, right? There's something that makes people money. There's something that saves people money. Those are probably your 2 best, typical value propositions, because you can quantify them very easily. It gets easy buy-in. The other 2 things are the things that I have to have, meaning this is something a part of a daily task or a specific task. I have to do this. So you can come up with something that actually helps me do this more efficiently. Great, I'll pay for that. And then there's the I want to have. That's when it gets really dicey, because there are certain things that people would like to have, but once you say you got to pay for it, it's like, oh, it's not that serious. I don't have to pay for it. Like LinkedIn, for example. Everybody uses LinkedIn because it's a free resume tool. Once people start talking about LinkedIn Premium, it's like, well, you can see my resume. I can search for people. I can kind of get the basic functionality of what I need it for. People can find me. So why would I ever pay for that? Right? So that's when, the want to haves and the freemium models oftentimes break down without a lot of VC funding to make room for testing. So just something to think about as you're building that. If people won't pay for it, then, and you got to ask that question, how much would you actually pay? At what price points? What features?
Let model.
Sorry. Yeah.
That model where he would sell disposable razors to people, so he'd sell giveaway.
Oh, yeah.
The razor free, and he'd give the.
Yeah, I think in certain instances that does work. There are a lot of things that we would expect to work to do work, and I actually like that one. I'm not necessarily as much of a product expert when it comes to manufacturing things, so I don't have as much experience and perspective on that. But again, I think it all, at any point where there's product or service, it's going to come back to value prop, what problem you're solving, and along those 4 dimensions. Makes me money, saves me money, I want to have it, I have to have it. And I think once you start planning that want to have, that's when it gets really tough to really know if you have a sustainable business.
That line is great with the web, especially with for instance, Yahoo Mail was very, very popular in the 90s.
Yeah.
That would never go away, and they started charging people for for, and then along with Gmail, which has better features than any of that, people would be free, and it took a hit on info because they had some bad revenue there, it was maybe free.
Yeah.
And by like, then 2 or 3 years, half the customers forgot that they can use Gmail.
Yeah.
So like the demand that's given by having a free product.
Yeah, there. If you have a lot, and I haven't seen the whole business plan of what you have for the long-term vision about what you plan to sell. So if there's something greater than that, I'd love to hear it. But yeah, I think that if longer term you have another monetization strategy where I'm going to lure customers in with X and then charge them for Y, but you've also done the research to know that they will pay for Y. That's what's key, right? Because what you don't want to do is get a whole bunch of free users, and then when you start to monetize, you realize that none of them are going to pay for it, and the business goes away,
But
right?
usually that happens to monetize user base.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Not all. I mean,
Like,
hopefully.
for instance, each user, can get you like $2 ad revenue.
Yeah, I mean, if advertising is your game. There's an interesting article that actually was just written, published in the Wall Street Journal probably about a month ago on freemium models. Some professors actually did some research on how many users actually end up paying for a product when they start with the freemium model, and the data actually showed it was 1 to 2%. And so the key thing to understand about that, and we can go into this another time, is a lot of the companies that you do see make it typically have like a lot of VC funding, so they've got a lot of runway to work with. So certain things work under certain circumstances. So if someone gives me $5 million and I can just go out here and give away stuff for a couple of years, if it's okay, because I can eventually start monetizing, I'll figure it out, great. But I don't know what you guys' funding situation looks like, so maybe that doesn't work for you. But just something to think about. So I would look up that article on freemium models in Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, and